Hey, what is going on, guys? It is Chris back again with another video about the super special delivery being developed over here at 2 Studios. I want to talk today about a piece of the super move system. Now, we're not going to go into the super move system itself. That's going to be a separate video. But there was some work that I had to do to augment the template that I'm using for Unity, which is the 2D beat 'em up template by Osarian. And I had to augment a little bit in order to get the functionality that I wanted to. Now, I also wanted to make this scalable so that I could use this for different solutions, not just specifically for the SuperMove system, although it's primarily being implemented for that. But this solution is going to allow me to do a little bit more things when it comes to character movement when using special moves and super moves. So let's go ahead and just first, I'm just going to kind of go through the UI real quick. So the super move system works similar to the way that it does in Streets of Rage, where there's a resource that you get throughout the game. And right now that resource is represented by this little diamond here. So if you have a diamond, you have a super move available to you, and you can use it. So the way that I have this set up now, if we go into the game, just boot that up real quick. Let me just pause real quick and turn down. We're going to turn the music all the way down. Oh, wait, it's going to turn it all the way up. Yeah, when I unpause. So I forgot to change that. So the way that this works is if I have my super move, which you can see that I have one, I'm going to use it. And he basically does his, burn knuckle attack and like dashes forward and everything. Now, what I changed was in the attack data script. If I go to, let's go over to the inspector here. In the attack data script, I have this little boolean called override player movement. And if I go over way down to the super attack, so you have override player movement. Each of one of these has an override player movement, and if you click it, you would get a movement direction, you get a movement speed, and you can apply that to the character. Now, the reason is because when you do certain attacks by default, usually you're able to you're not able to move. The player character stops moving while you're attacking. But in this case, right, what we wanted, so we wanted Terry to be able to move forward when he does his attack, right, and like hit everybody in the way, sort of like he does with the Burning Knuckle in all of the Fatal Fury games. Obviously, again, this is a proxy model. Terry is not going to be the main character of my game, but this is just for an example of how the game functions, just to get this up to speed. So, basically, added this function, this little boolean here, override player movement. You supply a movement direction, you supply a movement speed, and then you go. Now, this is a really basic implementation of it, but it works. It does what I wanted to do. So, what did I do? How did I do this? So, in the attack data script, okay, there is a bunch of properties here inside of this attack data class. It's a serializable class. I basically just added these three variables. So a bool for override player movement, a vector 2 for movement direction, and a float for movement speed, right? And then in the super attack system state, which is something that I added as well, which is again something we'll look at another time. But when the attack is used, I basically get the attack, super attack movement speed that's inputted, and I set that to the unit speed. And then inside of the super attack system script, I have this move player function that takes in the unit, takes in the movement direction, takes in the speed. Which, if we look here, it does that, checks what direction you're moving, and then it'll move you in that direction and that speed based on that, based on what you pass in, right? So it'll, based on movement direction, the movement speed you passed in, it'll move you in that direction at that speed, and it'll move you right or left depending on which direction you're looking. Now, this also could be something, like I said, that I changed later, that basically maybe we have a toggle here that says move in opposite direction or not. And if you're facing right, I actually want you to move left, things like that. But those will be easy to augment with this system, right? And basically that's basically it. But the one thing is with this this class, since it's being edited inside of a there's a unit settings editor script that I needed to um, do some things inside of as well. So let's find that script actually, and then we can kind of see what I did. This is editor scripting stuff that's like not super important, but basically I had to go ahead and there was a couple of things that I had to do a little bit later. But here we have this function for showing the attack data. We're basically getting the override movement property as a serialized property, since this entire class is serializable. So these are all serialized properties, right? We're finding that property that's named override player movement, movement direction, movement speed, and then we're showing it as GUI content. Now this one I'm actually gating behind the override player movement one. I'm actually gating behind whether or not the unit type is player. So if you notice here, if I go to the wave manager here and I look at enemy and I go down here, enemy attack lists don't have that option. And that's because for right now, I don't really need to override the enemy attack, the enemy's player move, the enemy's movement. Now I could want to do that if I design a boss later, for example, that does things like this. But for right now, I don't need it, so I have gated it. But I can always just remove this if I decide, hey, I actually do want to override it. Then I probably want to rename this to override movement rather than override player movement. So I could do that too. But in the future, there's probably different ways that I want to implement controlling the player, the enemy character's movement, within the AI, the enemy AI states and stuff like that. That's probably where I would want to do it, and rather than here. So that's why I've just gated this behind the player anyway. And then whether or not we see the movement speed or the movement direction is obviously gated by whether or not we want to override the movement. So again, here's an example of that. Right now, in this attack is not override movement. So if I click it, it'll show me those options. And if I unclick it, it will remove those options. So basically that's it. That's how the override player movement works. Let me know if you have any comments, questions, concerns, or, if you just think of a better way to do this, if you've been using this template, you think of a better way to do this, I would love to hear it. But that's it. Thanks for watching.